What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/AmITheButthole. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for Telling My Parents They Only Have One Daughter and She is 6 feet in the Ground? This all started when I was 12 years old and my younger sister was 10. Let's call her Abby. Well, Abby started to get sick and no one in the family knew what was going on. I started to be dropped off at my grandparents as they went to different doctors. I'm not gonna go into her illness, but when the doctors figured it out, it was bad. So a lot of time was devoted to my sister. When I was 14, it got worse, and I started to be left at my grandparents for longer amounts of time. It started with just staying the weekend, and then maybe the whole week. I would bring it up, and they told me that they have to focus on Abby. Soon, I was staying there for months. By the time I was 16, I was basically living there full time. I would maybe see them every other month. If I texted them about the whole thing, the same response was always sent. We need to focus on Abby right now. I'm 19 now, and Abby has passed away from her illness. Her funeral was 2 weeks ago, and I attended through FaceTime. I got a call today from my parents, and they wanted to meet up and be a family again. I told them that they abandoned one child for another. I am not their child anymore. That they only have one daughter, and she is 6 feet under the ground now. I soon hung up. I've been getting texts calling me an ass, and that I should understand that they needed to focus on Abby, and to suck it up, basically. So am I the butthole? No, I don't think you're the butthole for feeling that way. Because they had 2 kids, and they only acted like they had one. Obviously, the circumstances were a little horrifying for any freaking family. But they had 2 kids, and they shouldn't have just forgotten about the other one. And then as soon as, the one they focused all their attention on is gone, they want to get back in good graces with you. But I definitely think you should try and talk to them and hear them out and stuff, because they're your parents, and they probably need you a bit more than you need them. So if not for yourself, for them. But you definitely should let your feelings be heard and make sure they understand why you feel that way, just as you might understand why they felt that way. Maybe, I don't know. And also, she was your sister. Like, you were losing her just the same as they were losing her. So why didn't they think that you needed them as much as they needed each other, or her, or you? It was really selfish almost. But like I said, gotta give them a chance. That couldn't have been easy for anyone, especially freaking Abby. Like, she didn't have her sister around her. Like, that's terrible. Alright, this story's called Update, Am I the Butthole for Telling My Parents They Only Have One Daughter and She is 6 feet in the Ground? So it's been around a month since I posted the original post. Thanks to everyone that gave their input. So after the post, I wrote out a very long letter explaining my feelings about how my parents treated me and how they abandoned me for 7 years. I talked about all the major events that they missed and all the years that I could have been with my sister but couldn't due to their decision. That I haven't been a part of the family ever since Abby got sick all those years ago. I talked about how my grandparents are more parents to me than they have been in these past years. That no matter the reason, they discarded me and acted as if their other kid didn't need their parents. That you may have lost Abby recently, but I lost my whole family a long time ago. And that I'm not gonna give an empty apology for what I said on the phone. I sent this letter and it was radio silent for a bit. And in the meantime, I went to my first on-campus college semester and started to use the free therapy. My parents contacted me and asked if I would like to get dinner and hear them out. I agreed. It was a very long conversation that boiled down to I'm willing to try to get to know my parents again under 2 conditions. And if they don't agree with them, I'm gonna walk away since they are basically strangers at this point. 1, that we start to go to family therapy. Whoa, where have I heard of that? 2, that they don't try to parent me. That position is for my grandparents only, and I am willing to try a relationship with them, but it won't be a parent-child relationship. They don't seem happy with these conditions, but accepted. We went to our first family session a few days ago, and our relationship is still rocky, but I think it is getting better. I may be able to forgive them someday, but that day is far in the future. Hey, you know what? You're a rock star because you reached out, you gave them a chance, and you're not just tossing tossing. Why am I doing that? Tossing them to the side, like they might have done to you. And that just shows you're a way bigger person. Alright, this story's called Am I the Butthole for Not Letting My Kids Wear Pajamas Around the House? Oh god, that's literally all we wear here. Okay, I am a dad, 43, to 3 kids, 15 female, 10 female, 8 male. I love them more than anything and want to resolve this problem ASAP, as I hate fighting with them. I like to think that my wife and I have been good parents thus far. We are not extremely strict or helicopter parents. We do not limit screen time for my daughters. They all get a weekly allowance and are asked to do very minimal chores, cleaning their shared bathroom, washing their dishes, etc. The kids have had no issues with the way our household runs until now. Since my eldest was born, my wife and I have enforced a no pajama policy around the house. We consider it the same as taking off your shoes when you come inside. Ha! Pajamas are worn for sleeping in their bedrooms at night. Okay, loser. They aren't allowed to wear them down into shared spaces, living room, kitchen, etc., or during times of the day when they're up and active. Essentially, anytime they aren't sleeping. This is to keep everyone from feeling lazy or like they have nothing to do, and also keeps everyone looking presentable and clean. I mean, makes sense. We have been enforcing this rule a bit more ever since they switched to online school, as we don't want them falling asleep or becoming distracted during or in between classes. The only exception is pajama night, once a week, where we all wear pajamas and play board games or watch a movie together. My wife and I follow the same rule for the sake of fairness. A few days ago, my eldest came down for breakfast in her pajamas. I asked her to go back upstairs and change before joining us, and told her we would wait for her before we started eating. She refused, so I told her that she could either change out of her pajamas or go back to bed, as pajamas are for sleeping only. It ended in an argument between her, my wife, and I. She said the rule is unfair and ridiculous, and that we aren't allowed to control what she wears. She also claimed that she was uncomfortable in everything else because it was all too formal for breakfast. I told her I don't care what she changes into so long as they aren't pajamas. She could wear sweatpants if she'd like, but the expectation we set in our house is that pajamas are for sleeping only. I also pointed out that we don't control what she wears out of the house. No pajamas, obviously, and within reason as they are still young. She stormed off to her room and won't speak to me or my wife. I'm wondering if we or I are the butthole in this situation, as we are, to the same degree, policing what our children wear around the house. But I also feel that it isn't a huge demand to make, especially since my wife and I also follow it, and generally don't ask much else of these kids. Or of the kids. Edit! The rule does not apply when the kids go to their friends' houses. We are more relaxed about it when they bring friends over to our house, though the rule isn't dropped completely. Edit 2. Yes, holidays are also an exception, including birthdays and days where one of the kids has something special to celebrate, an award, a good grade, etc. Thank you to the user who asked and reminded me. Also, I consider pajamas to be whatever you slept. The kids are expected to change out of whatever they slept in, but if that means changing into lounge or leisure wear or even a clean pair of pajamas, that's fine. Oof, okay. Honestly, it doesn't sound like you're that much of a butthole. Like, I understand the importance of structure, and if you just kind of wear what you've been sleeping in all day, which is kind of what I do for the most part, then I can see that the line's getting blurred, and also having a clear distinction from like your day-to-day to like your sleeping everything. Like if you've got a TV in your room and you like to sit in your bed and watch TV, it's gonna be harder to fall asleep in your bed because you're gonna start associating it with, you know, chilling as opposed to sleeping. And so I feel like the same might go for like having regular clothes and like pajamas or whatever, because once you get into bed, have your pajamas on, your body's gonna be like, okay, sleep time mode, and that's gonna be the case. But at this point, like your daughter, she's 15, and you obviously give her some semblance of independence, so she's gonna fight for more. So that's when you work on a compromise, again, like pajama night, but like another one, so that she feels like she's getting a little more independence kids, and you still kind of teach her the importance of structure or whatever in her life, and maybe that'll help, but this is a bit of an old post. But also gotta consider the fact that this is a pandemic. The status quo is definitely unique for a lot of people, unless you've been around since like the Spanish flu or whatever, but probably aren't going out that much at that point anyway. Okay, update! Am I the butthole for not letting my kids wear pajamas? Original post here. My daughter and I got back from the doctor a few hours ago, so I thought I'd update everyone, as long as my post got a pretty large response. I'm a good dad, that's something I'm sure of. I love my kids, I try very hard to be a good parent, and I know I've done that. A few people commented on my post saying that I was ruining my kids' lives, etc., which is not true in the slightest. That being said, I was somewhat wrong about the pajamas. See, that's what's important. The willing to adapt and change. You know, he put in the effort to decide whether or not he was a jerk, and he decided he was, or everyone else decided for him. As some people mentioned, changing out of pajamas acts as a reset for them and helps them acknowledge that they're starting their day. This is why my wife and I started the rule in the first place, but obviously things change over time. Shortly after getting my butthole title, I went to talk things out with my daughter, intending on figuring out a way to change the pajama policy so that we were all happy with it. I re-explained the reasoning behind the rule, shifting mindsets in the morning, and she ended up crying and told me that changing her mindset didn't matter because she can't stop falling asleep anyway. I asked her what she meant, and she explained that she's been falling asleep multiple times a day, even when she's changed out of her pajamas. My wife is close friends with a somnologist, so we set up an appointment, and he spoke with my daughter. He recommended that she go for a polysomnogram and MSLT, sleep tests. And it turns out she has narcolepsy. What? We're currently discussing treatment options with her doctors to see how we can help her, but it's a big relief for her to know that there's a reason behind why she's been struggling with sleep. As for the pajamas, we sat down as a family and discussed it together. We decided we want to keep the rule, but reworked it so that the kids can eat breakfast in their pajamas as long as they're changed and starting online school on time. There we go. Also, a lot of people asked why my wife and I don't limit my kids' screen time. We limit my son's, as he's a bit younger, but my daughters are extremely good at limiting their own. They're both bookworms and understand that too much screen time is harmful, so they don't spend a lot of time on their devices anyway, so my wife and I have never felt the need to step in. There we go. I did not expect that though. Narcolepsy? I mean, it's not that crazy, but it's just like, I've seen like one of those shows or whatever about some dude with like narcolepsy where like he just falls asleep like just randomly, like he could be standing up and washing dishes and he just all of a sudden boom, he's out. But I imagine not every case is like that. That's why he was on TV. But cool dad, you know, he's putting in that effort to make his kids not hate him. That's impressive. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for Not Wanting to Sign Away My Rights? Look, I know it's my choice and I have a right to say no, but right now it feels like the rest of the world doesn't agree. Honestly, I, 26 male, didn't know this woman that well when we first met through a dating site. She was 35 and according to her profile, was single, never told me she was married. We went out on a few dates for 4 months until she told me she wasn't interested anymore. I found out later it was because her husband was getting suspicious and she needed to cut her losses. But a few months after, she contacted me again and told me she was pregnant. It hadn't been that long since we slept together and she confessed everything. Her husband still didn't know yet because she wanted to find out who the father was first. We did the prenatal paternity test and confirmed her baby is also mine. She had to tell him after that and it was a crap show. He wanted to speak to me and called me like crazy. She got him to leave me alone after telling him I never knew about her being married. We were both being lied to by her. They're apparently trying to work things out, but here's the thing. Her husband wants me completely out of the picture and is willing to adopt my baby if I terminate my parental rights. He doesn't want me in their lives at all, and this is his only condition, or he's divorcing her and taking their 2 kids. I don't know if he can actually do that, but she's begging me to do this or it'll completely break their family. Neither of them are considering that this is my child too, and I want to be in my child's life. I said I would not, and it's causing all these problems. She's called several times, telling me how badly this is hurting her family, and her kids are hurt and confused because her husband's temporarily moved out until this condition is met. She feels guilty for doing this to them, but says she wants to fix her mistakes and make their marriage work if I could just do this. Plus, to her, it's a sweet deal for me since I won't ever have to raise this baby or be responsible financially. I don't see it that way. I want to be a dad to my son, but it feels like what I want is hurting everyone else, like her kids. My close friends who know all this get I want to do right by my kid, but feel I should walk away from this messy situation as it'll always be a part of my life if I choose to be involved, and it's possible if her husband is willing to adopt my son after birth, he'll have a good life. Nobody else in my life thinks me being in my son's life is a good idea, and I don't know if it is really such a bad thing. She's due in 2 months, and I don't know what to do. Am I the butthole? No, man, you've got rights to freaking be a dad to your kid if that's what you want. I mean, it might not be the cleanest freaking thing ever, but you know, you still got the right. However, one thing you gotta consider is, what's the best chance for your kid to have like a stable and normal life if that's what you like? Because, you know, I don't know. This is such a messy situation. Well, bottom line is, you didn't do anything wrong, all right? You slept with the married chick. That's funny as hell in my opinion. I'm sorry it's messed up, but it's funny to me for some reason. Okay, I messed up. Anyway, but you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't know. She lied to both of you. All of this is her fault. It's all on her. And it sucks for her kids. It sucks for her husband. And it sucks for you because of this stupid ultimatum. But I'm just saying, whatever you decide, she made her bed. Now she's got to sleep in it. That's how the expression goes, right? If not, then the one I know is she dug her own grave. Or dug the grave of her own marriage. Boom, shakalaka. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for Not Wanting to Sign Away My Update, am I not the butt? It's been a while since I posted this, and a lot has happened since then. And by a lot, I mean I finally became a dad. My son is healthy and beautiful, most beautiful baby I've ever seen. One of the best things to ever happen to me, honestly, despite the drama. Thank you everyone who was helpful and encouraging in this situation. It felt good to know, even with what everyone else was saying, I had a right to say no to my ex's demands, and I'm not the one at fault for what happened. Several of you had suggested I talk to her about switching it around so that I could ask about getting full custody instead of being cut out if her husband had such a problem with me being around. It was a great idea, and I feel pretty stupid for not thinking about it myself. So here's what happened. I decided to try again and contact her husband because throughout this whole time, he was refusing to speak to me. But I just wanted to see if I could get through to him as a last resort. He agreed for us to talk, and I was so shocked to find out he'd actually changed his mind about accepting the baby 2 months ago, before I made the post. Originally, he did have that condition that he'd only take her back and adopt my son if I wasn't in the picture, but he decided he didn't want to raise another man's baby. So she lied to me about him still wanting this condition, and this was just her attempt to fix everything, even though he was planning on going through with the divorce. Oh no. He was pretty mad about what she was doing too, so he was kind of on my side about it. Did get a lawyer involved and had another talk with her as well after he spoke to her, pretty much saying he'd never take her back no matter what she did at this point. That got her to see trying to keep me out wasn't gonna do anything. I brought up the full custody thing to see if that was something she wanted, and she agreed. To her, there was no point in having my son full-time with this whole divorce going on, and she doesn't even have her own place. He moved back into their house with kids, and she ended up leaving. Going through with my attorney, I was able to establish paternity after my son was born so that I'd be legally recognized as his father instead of her STBX. I don't know what that is. As of right now, he's with me full time, but she still comes by to visit. Her life is a total mess right now with the divorce, and she's still pretty bitter towards me about it. It's not perfect, but I'm just so happy having my son in my life. Holding him for the first time, it made all the struggles worth it. It's definitely overwhelming doing it mostly on my own, but I don't regret how things played out. So thanks for the support and advice. It really helped make a difference when I couldn't see a way out of this without feeling like I was doing something wrong. Damn. You know what? I'm so glad that this worked out for you. Sucks for the husband though. That poor guy. And his kids. Or their kids, I guess, but jeez.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.